To the naked eye, the Therac 25 looked like any other hospital machine. It was used to provide radiation treatment to cancer patients, but hidden inside its code was a tiny mistake that transformed this machine from a lifesaver to a silent killer. To make matters worse, the flaw was so small that for years, no one even realized it was there. It wasn't until bodies started piling up that investigators began putting the pieces together. But while some tried to reveal the truth, others did everything to keep the machine running, leading to the loss of more and more lives. The most interesting part of all of this is how something so deadly could hide in plain sight for so long. This is how a simple computer code mistake killed 6 people. Its first victim. It was June 3rd, 1985, and something terrible was about to happen at the Kennestone Oncology Center in Georgia. That day, 61-year-old Katie Yarborough was receiving radiation treatment for cancer. This wasn't her first session, so she knew what to expect. Katie was being treated with a machine called the Therac 25. Patients would lie down on a treatment table, and the machine would release just enough radiation to destroy cancer cells without harming healthy tissue. The hospital staff would be in another room using a computer to control how much radiation was used. It was a very precise process with no room for mistakes. But that day, the worst mistake was about to happen. As soon as the machine was turned on, Katie felt a tremendous force of heat in her body. Radiotherapy wasn't supposed to feel like this. No one realized it, but Katie just received a massive overdose of radiation, about 100 times higher than what she was supposed to get. To give you an idea, she was exposed to between 10,000 and 20,000 rad, similar to what happens during a nuclear disaster, not a regular medical protocol. After the session was over, Katie accused the technician of burning her during the procedure. But instead of taking Katie seriously, the hospital staff acted like she was making stuff up. According to the machine, the treatment was completely normal. The only indication something went wrong was the pain Katie claimed she felt. It was Katie's word against the machine. Although no one believed her, Katie was right. The Therac 25 malfunctioned in the worst way possible, and soon the evidence would start to show. In the days that followed, Katie noticed that the area where she was treated became red, and she was also experiencing other health issues. Within 2 weeks, she was rushed to the emergency room where doctors tried to save her. The staff at the treatment center refused to believe the Therac 25 could malfunction, so they assumed Katie's sudden health problems were symptoms of her illness. But someone had a different opinion. The facility's physicist was worried that the machine might have hurt Katie, just like she said. To find out, he called AECL Medical, which was the company that made the machine. He wanted to know if the Therac 25 could give too much radiation while still displaying a lower dose on the computer. The manufacturer replied 3 days later, saying the Therac 25 was not capable of delivering an overdose of radiation. In other words, there was no way their machine could have hurt the patient. Katie Yarborough didn't make it. She was the first victim of the Therac 25, but she wouldn't be the last. This machine, created to save lives, would soon become the biggest nightmare in medical history. A tragic flaw. In the 1980s, the Therac 25 was one of the most popular machines for treating cancer. It was a radiation therapy machine that could be controlled by a computer, a huge improvement over older machines that needed manual adjustments. It was so impressive, the doctors were calling it a state-of-the-art medical wonder. However, buried inside the machine's code was a bug that went undetected by everyone. The Therac 25 software had a coding error called a race condition. A race condition occurs when a device attempts to perform 2 or more operations or tasks at the same time. The race condition in the Therac 25 caused the machine to glitch, releasing radiation doses that were hundreds of times greater than normal. Other machines, like the Therac 6 and Therac 20, had safety features that stopped them from working if there was a problem. However, the Therac 25 was the first radiotherapy device entirely controlled by software. This meant that it had no hardware safety features. The computer was supposed to keep track of the machine and shut things down if it detected a dangerous situation. But without built-in safety interlocks, the machine would go crazy if the software had a bug. As bad as that sounds, the Therac 25 had even more problems. The machine software was written by a programmer who didn't have much experience. The code had very few comments, and there was no sign that proper tests had been done. Fixing the code wasn't going to be easy either, because the mysterious programmer who wrote the messy code no longer worked for the company and could not be found. However, those using the machine had no clue about these issues. Instead, said they were trained to believe that the machine had many safety mechanisms that would make it virtually impossible to overdose the patients. By 1983, 5 Therac 25s were installed in the United States and 6 in Canada. And for 2 years and thousands of patients, they worked perfectly. Then suddenly, in 1985, the machines started malfunctioning and blasting patients with too much radiation. But everyone trusted the medical device so much that they didn't realize the danger was hiding in plain sight. 1 month after the first accident, it happened again, except this time it was far more serious. The cover-up. It was June 26, 1985 at the Ontario Cancer Foundation, Canada. 40-year-old Frances Hill was being treated with a Therac 25. It wasn't going to end well. The machine blasted Frances with too much radiation. Her injuries were so bad she needed a complete hip replacement, but she never got the opportunity to do that. Just 4 months later, Frances passed away. The technicians were finally sure that Frances was given too much radiation from the machine, but when they checked the computer, it said that she was given the right dose of radiation. To get to the bottom of this, the hospital staff contacted AECL Medical, the company that manufactured the device. When AECL executives heard about this second problem, they were worried. The company made millions from selling and maintaining Therac 25 machines for hospitals. They didn't want to lose their moneymaker, so they sent out one of their best service engineers to the hospital to investigate. This is one of the most upsetting parts of the story. After the second incident, AECL knew that there might be something wrong with their machine, but they didn't pull the machines from use or warn the other hospitals to be careful. The machines remained in operation. Instead, they just sent a service engineer and waited for his report. Meanwhile, people in other hospitals were still using the machine, risking their lives. So what did the engineer discover when he looked into the Therac 25? Did he find the killer code? ACL's engineer arrived at the facility and ran multiple tests on the machine. However, it seemed like the long trip was just a waste of time because everything was working perfectly. He carefully ran test after test, but each time the Therac 25 behaved as expected. Since he couldn't pinpoint the problem, he decided to guess what could possibly cause the machine to malfunction. He figured the only way such an overdose could happen was if some parts inside the machine were in the wrong position. For example, if the scanning magnets or X-ray target weren't lined up correctly, the patient could be hit with a strong beam of radiation. To solve this problem, the engineer redesigned the micro switch circuit, allowing the computer to identify if something went wrong. The company also added the modification to all Therac 25 machines in other hospitals. However, AECL didn't tell other hospitals that 2 patients had already been injured. They just made it seem like they were upgrading the machine. AECL Medical breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that they had solved the problem. But that was far from the truth, because the accidents were about to get worse. Barely a month after they upgraded all Therac 25s, another accident occurred. This time, it was at a hospital in Washington and the patient was badly hurt. When the hospital staff sent a letter to AECL Medical once again, they responded with a letter detailing the reasons why radiation overdose was impossible. But just a few weeks after AECL said they weren't at fault, something happened in a hospital in Texas that held the key to finally solving the mystery. Malfunction 54. It was March 21st, 1986. Ray Cox was undergoing radiation therapy at the East Texas Cancer Center in Tyler. This was Ray's 9th treatment session, so he knew the drill. He was guided into the treatment room by a technician who helped him get settled on the Therac 25 table. After Ray was positioned, the technician moved to the next room where the control computer was set up. She pressed a few buttons on the computer and the Therac 25 turned on, starting the radiation treatment. But as soon as it powered up, Ray realized something was wrong. Instead of the quiet hum of the machine, he saw a flash of blue light and felt a burning sensation on his shoulder. The machine also began to make a strange buzzing noise, a sound that Ray never heard in any of his previous treatments. Ray rolled off the table and called for help. When the hospital staff arrived, Ray explained what happened to him on the table. It sounded like he was given too much radiation. However, when they checked the machine, it showed no signs of an overdose as usual. But the case was reported to Fritz Hager, the staff physicist at the hospital. It was his job to ensure that the radiation doses were safe. After what happened to Ray, Fritz looked into the problem. The technician who ran the machine during Ray's treatment remembered seeing a weird message pop up on the screen. Malfunction 54. It was an error code she'd never seen before, but little did they know this error message would be the answer they've been looking for. Fritz contacted the machine's manufacturer, AECL Medical, but this time they lied. AECL insisted that the Therac 25 couldn't deliver an overdose and that no other accidents had occurred previously, which was obviously completely false. AECL tried to shift the blame, suggesting that the hospital might have an electrical problem that messed up Ray's treatment. However, Fritz Hager was far more stubborn than anyone AECL has ever dealt with, and he wasn't satisfied with their explanation. He called the company again and demanded they send engineers to test the machine. Reluctantly, AECL Medical agreed, and 2 engineers arrived in Texas a few days later. But no matter what the engineers tried, they couldn't replicate the error. The mysterious Malfunction 54 never appeared again. Meanwhile, Ray Cox, the man from the accident, passed away, becoming another victim. And 3 weeks later, another patient passed away. Fritz Hager was furious. As the hospital's staff physicist, he felt responsible for the 2 lives lost on his watch. Fritz knew there was something wrong, and he was determined to prove it. The truth exposed. Fritz couldn't stop thinking about the Therac 25. He was obsessed with figuring out why it was hurting patients. He had only one lead. In both cases, when the accidents occurred, the machine displayed a Malfunction 54 message. But Malfunction 54 was not mentioned in the Therac 25 manual, so what was it? Hager decided to investigate by creating the conditions under which the incident occurred. Fritz and his radiotherapy technician locked themselves in the radiotherapy control room, working into the night and through the weekend to try to reproduce the problem. As they tried to trigger Malfunction 54, Hager noticed something important. The Malfunction 54 error only popped up when they changed the machine's settings quickly. That's why the engineers AECL sent didn't encounter the error. They were operating the machine slowly. To trigger the overdose, you needed to type quickly, the kind of speed that an experienced operator might have. Fritz realized the coding error was a race condition, a glitch that happens when multiple processes try to run at once. In the case of the Therac 25, the race condition was triggered by the operator adjusting the machine's settings rapidly, causing it to deliver a full power electron beam when it should have delivered a low dose X-ray beam. This also explains why the Therac 25 worked for years without any problems. When it was new, technicians took their time using it. However, as they became more familiar with the machine, they used it so fast that they accidentally triggered the race condition. Fritz practiced and was eventually able to produce Malfunction 54 at will. That's when he reported his findings to AECL Medical. He explained how the machine delivered a dangerous dose of radiation even though the software indicated that the treatment was normal. AECL was reluctant to accept this theory. They were convinced the malfunction was due to operator error. It took several phone calls before AECL was able to replicate the same error on their lab machine. At that point, the company couldn't deny it any longer. The Therac 25 had a coding error. This meant everything that happened so far was all their fault. And when the news got out, all hell broke loose. ACL was hit with lawsuits from the victims' families. They wanted compensation, but more than that, they wanted justice. The lawsuits were settled out of court. They settled quietly to avoid the bad press and damage to the company's reputation. But that didn't work, because in May of 1986, the FDA labeled the Therac 25 as defective and ordered all machines to be shut down for a full investigation. The machine was pulled from hospitals and shipped back to ACL. This should have been the end of the Therac 25's dangerous run, but this break was only temporary. ACL, desperate to salvage its reputation, worked quickly to fix the bug that caused the overdoses. After fixing it, they convinced some faculties to take the machine back and use it again. For a brief period, the machine returned to hospitals and treatments resumed. But in January 1987, another accident happened at Yakima Valley Hospital in Washington. The patient passed away 3 months later. This was the 6th victim. This new accident revealed an entirely different bug in the code, one that hadn't been caught by earlier fixes. The company was in shambles, and in 1988, AC Medical shut down. The Therac 25 disaster will go down as one of the worst software bugs in history. The machine is long gone, but its legacy will live on. The good news is that it pushed for stricter regulations in medical device software and has taught companies not to ignore complaints. Today, this catastrophe is studied in classrooms mushrooms as a reminder of how bad things can happen when software isn't tested properly. In a world increasingly reliant on machines, we can't lose sight of the human responsibility we carry. Visual Venture. If you guys like this video, you guys might like my video on how a Boy Scout turned into a $1.2 billion drug lord. Click here to watch it. Thank you guys for everything. Peace.
Why is this guy still allowed when he has an actual FBI warrant and he's on the most wanted list?
A woman who adopted 7 children and used them to make social media videos is now under arrest.
A year later, he has actually been arrested by the police, possibly facing extradition for running a literal cult.
Obviously, not every video on YouTube is cute or funny. Some channels push the limits so hard, they get kicked off of YouTube forever. But what type of content could be so bad that it forces YouTube to ban an entire channel? Let's find out. These are YouTube channels banned for disturbing reasons, part 2. As usual, we'll begin with the lighter cases and move on to the more disturbing ones at the end. I'm Visual Venture, and you are awesome. The Catch Me Killer. In February 2009, a new channel appeared on YouTube, but their first video was so disturbing that it left viewers feeling disgusted and angry. A man using the name Catch Me Killer posted a video saying he was responsible for several unsolved crimes. The YouTuber blurred his face and distorted his voice so no one could identify him. And then he began his confession.
I decided to confess to you. I decided to do it on YouTube because there's millions of people who fuck my body at times. Whenever my body is found, and then the clue is where's that body.
He claimed he'd taken the lives of 16 women and hidden the remains. Although he said he was confessing, there was no regret in his voice. Instead, he sounded proud. The end of the video was the worst part. This mystery man issued a challenge to everyone watching.
The Catch Me Killer tells viewers, play my game and solve my puzzles and I'll lead you to 16 bodies one by one.
He promised to provide a clue every week until they located the victims, saying once all 16 bodies are found, you'll know exactly who I am. But he also added a warning for the police, don't try to chase me, don't try to catch me. Once this video went viral on YouTube, people wondered who this mystery man was. Was he a real criminal or was this all just a big joke? The only way to find out was to play his twisted game. It was obvious this mystery YouTuber knew what he was talking about. Every clue he gave was connected to an unsolved case, usually involving missing people.
He would also leave cryptic messages below videos that were talking about certain missing women. He never really stated anything outright, but he would heavily imply that he had some sort of involvement in their disappearance.
His first clue was about Tara Grinstead, a former beauty queen from South Georgia. She'd been missing since 2005. Although he didn't say her name, he talked about her past as a pageant contestant. He also hinted that he was responsible for the disappearance of Jennifer Kessie, another missing person from 2006. Since these clues were linked to real cases, the police launched a manhunt to find this mysterious YouTuber. But their only lead was a YouTube video with a blurred face and altered voice. That wasn't much, but it was enough to track him down. Cyber experts identified the IP address of the computer that posted the video. They traced it to a house in Florida. Hours later, agents stormed the house and arrested the man responsible for the Catch Me Killer YouTube channel. His name was Andrew Scott Haley, and he was in his late 20s. The cops thought they caught a criminal. I mean, this guy confessed to taking 16 lives in his YouTube video. The biggest surprise was yet to come, because when they arrested Andrew Scott Haley, they realized it was all a lie. When Andrew, aka the Catch Me Killer, was questioned, he gave cops a ridiculous explanation. Andrew claimed everything he said in his video was a joke. He said he was playing a game to fool people on the internet. And he was right. Police found nothing to indicate he was involved in any of these disappearances. But that didn't mean Andrew was off the hook. Police spent hundreds of hours and tens of thousands of dollars trying to catch him. This hoax wasted public resources and caused real pain to the families of the missing people. Andrew was charged with evidence tampering and making false statements because his videos disrupted the investigations into these cases. He was sentenced to 2 years in a work release jail and several more years of probation. The Catch Me Killer YouTube channel was banned and all his disgusting videos were scrubbed from the internet. But that's not the only YouTube channel banned for faking something. Andrew may have lied about being a criminal, but this next channel allegedly faked something completely different: the loss of a child. The fake pregnancy. Sam and Nia were one of the first couples to create a YouTube channel together. Their channel's name was simple, Sam and Nia. Since March 2007, they've uploaded more than 2,700 videos showing off their marriage and family life. But in 2015, after 8 years on YouTube, Sam and Nia's subscribers began to turn on them. And it was all because of a series of questionable videos the couple posted. On August 5th, 2015, Sam uploaded a video called Husband Shocks Wife with Pregnancy Announcement. At first, it seemed like an exciting moment. You'd think a YouTube couple sharing their pregnancy would get a lot of love, right? But there were a lot of things wrong with the video. First, the whole idea itself was off. Nia, the wife, never actually took a pregnancy test. Sam, the husband, thought Nia might be pregnant, so he secretly bought a pregnancy test for her. Then he waited for Nia to use the bathroom. Sam then dipped the test into the toilet. The test came back positive, but Nia had no idea it was even happening. Sam then filmed his wife's reaction when he surprised her with the news that she was pregnant.
Did you get a dropper out of the toilet? No, you didn't.
I did.
No way. Are you serious right now? No way.
The couple was excited that they were having another baby, but the reactions from viewers weren't so positive. Many people criticized Sam for conducting a pregnancy test without Nia's consent. Others were skeptical about how valid a pregnancy test from a toilet bowl could be since Nia didn't take another test herself. The whole thing blew up, dividing the YouTube community into those that believed the couple and those that didn't. News outlets contacted doctors to see if the test results were legit, and many doctors said it was not. To defend Sam and Nia, their pregnant fans started posting videos of themselves doing the same thing. They would use their toilet bowls for the pregnancy test and show positive test results to the camera to prove that Sam and Nia were telling the truth. But it wasn't the pregnancy test drama that upset subscribers the most. It was a video posted 3 days later called "Our Baby Had a Heartbeat" that really hit a nerve.
I told Nia, I said, Nia, God's ready to use us in a huge way.
We were so happy.
Just days after the pregnancy announcement video, Sam and Nia shared a heartbreaking update. Their baby was gone. The couple cried as they revealed that they lost their baby. But instead of triggering sympathy, this video only made subscribers angrier. Their problem was that Sam and Nia didn't visit a doctor about the pregnancy or the miscarriage. The couple chose to only consult each other, with Sam saying that he could handle everything since he was a nurse. Their behavior was unusual and subscribers began to distrust the couple. Right after the alleged miscarriage, Sam and Nia started making their daily vlogs again, but they weren't behaving like a couple who just lost a baby. On the contrary, they did things that made subscribers suspect that the miscarriage and pregnancy were both faked. For example, the next day after the miscarriage announcement, they posted a video taking their kids to Legoland. But instead of paying at the gate, Sam and Nia wanted to get in for free because of their recent viral videos. When that didn't work, Sam complained.
He wants to leverage our viralness, our virality, to get into Legoland. I don't think it's right.
No, sorry guys.
He didn't recognize the video. Now we got a bunch of disappointed kids.
Instead of taking time to mourn their loss, the couple was trying to get special treatment as YouTube stars. In the same video, Sam announced that he was quitting his job as a nurse to do YouTube full-time. With all these announcements, one after the other, the public suspected that all of this was calculated so that they could boost the Sam and Nia channel. Sam was quitting his job, which meant that they would lose their main income. However, if their YouTube videos went viral, they could support themselves entirely through YouTube. What was the easiest way to achieve virality? Create a sob story. And things kept getting worse. When BuzzFeed called Sam's workplace to ask if he quit, they said he didn't. According to the employment records, Sam still worked as a nurse in the hospital. Whether that was due to delayed paperwork or because Sam lied, no one knew. Either way, it looked like Sam deceived his subscribers, hurting his credibility even more. But this was nothing compared to the scandal that was coming next. In July 2015, Ashley Madison, a dating website for extramarital affairs, was hacked. This website was made specifically for married couples to secretly cheat on their spouses. 3 months later, the hackers released the name of tens of millions of people with an Ashley Madison account. Sam's name was on that list. If you want to learn more about the Ashley Madison hack, you can check out my other video where I cover it in detail. Sam made a video addressing the scandal.
As you may have seen, my name has been associated with an Ashley Madison account, a website made for spouses who want to have an affair. I'm here to clarify some of this with you guys because I owe it to you. I did make the account.
Even though Sam admitted he was on the cheating site, Nia decided to forgive him. The couple stayed together, making content and raising their kids as if nothing happened. Their fans, however, weren't ready to forgive. Sam and Nia acted like a perfect Christian couple, but if Sam was cheating on his wife, then they were hypocrites. With their pregnancy scandal still fresh, Sam and Nia's reputations were damaged. A few weeks later, Sam got into a fight with vloggers who were liking tweets about Sam and Nia's pregnancy and cheating scandals. The fight took place at a vloggers convention organized by YouTube. Sam and Nia were instantly kicked out of the event.
Well, we just got kicked out of Vlogger Fair, guys. Nia's really upset with me. So is a couple other people. I made a really stupid, rash decision while we were hanging out in the lounge.
The next month, their YouTube channel was banned. This was probably because of the fight at the YouTube event and people reporting them for their controversial videos. The channel was eventually unbanned, but faced demonetization issues for a while. Sam and Nia have returned to regular uploads now, but there are still people who believe that they shouldn't have a platform. This next channel was banned for doing something I think we can all agree is wrong: adopting a kid for views. Adopting a kid for clout. Before we get into this case, I want to point out that some of the information is only alleged. A lot of people believe Micah is guilty, but she's always denied the accusations against her. With 4 kids, a devoted husband, and almost 200,000 subscribers, Micah Stouffer was living the suburban dream. She was a stay-at-home mom turned content creator. She got her start on YouTube by making videos of her cleaning the house and doing home makeovers. Her husband, James Stouffer, was also a YouTuber. His channel, Stouffer Garage, currently has over 1.3 million subscribers and 200 million views. By early 2017, Micah and James were successful YouTubers, but they always wanted more. More views, more subscribers, and of course, more money. That's when they did something that skyrocketed their YouTube views. In October 2017, Micah posted a video called Huxley's Emotional Adoption Video, and it went viral instantly. In the video, Micah showed the whole process of adopting a 2-year-old boy from China who they named Huxley. He became the newest member of their family, joining their 4 biological kids. Just weeks after uploading the video, it racked up 5.5 million views, making it the most watched video on Micah's channel. Viewers were hooked on Huxley's adoption story. To capitalize on this attention, Micah and James started a new channel called The Stouffer Life, where they posted updates about their adopted son and other family-related content. The channel was an instant success.
The channel grew from 80,000 to 131,000 subscribers in just that month alone. In addition, their monthly average views went from 200,000 to 2.5 million.
It was obvious that Huxley was the real reason for their high views. So Micah started using him to farm likes and increase her subscriber count.
If you are on my channel and you are here for the Huxley content, give this video a thumbs up.
Every thumbnail included Huxley's face, every video title used his name, and she used him to secure multiple sponsorship deals. Eventually, Huxley became one of the most beloved kids on YouTube. Although things looked good on screen, trouble was brewing behind the scenes. In June 2020, Micah and James posted a video sharing devastating news. Huxley was no longer with them.
The last couple months have been like the hardest thing I could have ever imagined choosing to do.
After coming to the US, Huxley was diagnosed with several health problems, including autism and a brain tumor. Micah and James said they consulted many doctors about how best to care for him. According to them, every doctor told them Huxley needed a different environment, so they decided the best thing to do was to rehome him and place him with another family.
Do I feel like a failure as a mom? Like 500%.
This decision caused a lot of outrage. Some subscribers accused them of abandoning their son. Others believed that since Huxley was adopted, they gave up on him quickly and wouldn't have done the same if he was their biological child. Critics pointed out how they used Huxley to rack up views. After Huxley joined the family, their channels blew up. Micah's channel went from under 200,000 subscribers to nearly 800,000. Now that their channels were successful, many viewers speculated that they didn't need him anymore.
Huxley in particular brought so much viewership to their channel.
He's kind of the new moneymaker for Micah.
After the video went viral, people started digging into the Stouffer family's past. They found Micah's Facebook posts in adoption groups where she asked questions about Huxley. Some of these posts made it seem like rehoming him was more of a choice than a necessity.
James here, this douchebag face here, hates the fact that Huxley watches him eat. This is supposed to be this kid's father. Okay, if my kid wants to watch me eat, my kids watch me take a dump. I can't get privacy. I love my kids still. This guy is a total...
Angry subscribers dug up old vlog videos where Micah and James seemed frustrated with Huxley. In several videos, they scolded Huxley on camera and treated him differently from their other kids.
Well, that's why you don't see on the vlog. He's probably having a meltdown. Are you done?
He's just having a bad day.
There were some examples that really stood out. Micah often criticized Huxley for sucking his thumb, but her feelings about thumb sucking seemed to change when it came to her biological kids. Viewers discovered an old Instagram post from Micah where she praised one of her biological daughters for sucking her thumb. In the post, she thought it was super cute and she said she never wanted her to stop. This was pretty surprising, especially since Huxley was shamed for doing the same thing.
The adopted son was also shown with duct tape on his thumb in a different video. But when her older daughter was sucking on her thumb in 2015, Micah said she hoped her daughter never stopped. I hope she never stops sucking her thumb.
There were also vlogs where Micah talked about cutting back on money and resources they spent on Huxley's care. In one clip, she mentioned looking for a cheaper therapy for him while wearing what looked like a $6,000 Cartier bracelet.
I'm excited to see what happens. We're gonna go to a different speech therapist, not the one that's $500 a month, but we're gonna go to the one that is like $70 for 30 minutes. And he starts preschool too, so you'll get therapy there, so it'll all work out.
These videos raised concerns about Micah's parenting, making fans worry that Huxley might be mistreated when the cameras weren't rolling. People were so upset that they called the local sheriff to complain. After this controversy, YouTube suspended all of Micah and James's channels. An investigation was launched to ensure Huxley was safe. Huxley now lives with a new family and has changed his name. Micah's personal channel and the Stauffer Life channel were permanently deleted while James still continues to make videos. But Micah isn't the only one whose content triggered an investigation. The next YouTube channel became the center of an FBI investigation, but this time for a much darker reason: the false prophet. The YouTube channel Sunshine Media Network International, or SMNI News, is one of the most controversial channels in YouTube history. For starters, the man behind the channel was telling everyone he was God. But if that sounds strange, brace yourself because it only gets weirder. Apollo Kibuloy was born and raised in a small rural town in the Philippines his entire life. He came from nothing and lived with little. That is until 2005, when he announced to the world that he was chosen by God himself to be Christ on earth. The title was supposedly rewarded to him for living a pure life.
Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, the most successful of the world's self-labeled saviors.
The official coming of the Son of God was in April 13, 2005.
But years before then, in 1985, Apollo was the leader of a church called the Kingdom of Jesus Christ in the Philippines. A few years after the church was created, he created SMNI News, which aired on television. But he went on to create the SMNI YouTube channel, which was a huge part of his media empire, giving him exposure to billions of people. But there was a big problem. Apollo was saying some extreme things on YouTube. As far back as 2005, Apollo called himself the Messiah and the appointed Son of God, basically implying he was God on earth. He made YouTube videos talking about how he was divine and tried to recruit more followers. But Apollo had a lot of enemies, and he often threatened and insulted them in his videos. Other videos showed him living in luxury while treating his followers like they were his servants.
This may be the most beautiful spot in the Philippines, and it's paid for by people who live on $2 a day. So how do you justify your lifestyle? I mean, your watch could probably feed 100 families for a month.
If this is not God's will for me to have these things I have, you can take it away.
Despite all this, SMNI managed to avoid getting banned. That was until June 2023, when one man made it his mission to get the channel kicked off of YouTube. Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers tweeted at the YouTube team asking them to take down the news channel. He had a really good reason for this request. It turns out that Apollo Kibuloy, the man running the channel, was wanted by the FBI.
Why is this guy still allowed when he has an actual FBI warrant and he's on the most wanted list?
The tweet read, "Someone at Team YouTube has to help the feds or shut this account down. Priest is running a channel still reaching out to victims." After his tweet got a couple thousand likes, YouTube decided to investigate, and what they found was very disturbing. The FBI accused Apollo Kiboloi for running a labor trafficking ring. He was allegedly bringing church members to the US using fake visas. Once they arrived, the members would roam the streets asking people to donate to a kids charity called the Children's Joy Foundation. But the charity was just a front. All donations were going straight to Apollo's pockets. Besides the charity scam, Apollo was involved in other illegal activities like his fixation with selecting the perfect personal assistant. He would handpick female church members to be his personal assistants. These women were forced to work at his house during the night doing things that were far from normal assistant duties. The worst part, some of them were on the younger side. The FBI found out about his crimes, and in 2022, they added Apollo to their most wanted list. What really worried YouTube was that Apollo's SMNI channel, which had over 47,000 subscribers, was allegedly being used to recruit victims. Just one day after the tweet, YouTube permanently banned the SMNI news channel for breaking community guidelines. Although the channel was banned, Kiboloi managed to avoid arrest for about a year. But finally, in September 2024, the FBI caught him.
A year later, he has actually been arrested by the police, possibly facing extradition for running a literal cult.
The next banned channel seemed like it was making wholesome, family-friendly content, but behind the scenes, it was a house of horrors. The most evil YouTube family. In June 2012, Michelle Hobson created one of YouTube's most famous family channels. It was called Fantastic Adventures.
Aisha. And I'm Summer, and we're from Fantastic Adventures.
Michelle was no ordinary mom. She was a suburban mom with 7 adopted kids, and she made videos documenting her family's daily life. People enjoyed watching the family's fun interactions, and by 2019, their channel Fantastic Adventures had 800,000 subscribers and 350 million views. As Michelle got more subscribers on YouTube, she started making a lot of money. Like many influencers who suddenly get rich, Michelle became obsessed with maintaining her newfound wealth. But in doing so, she went from a caring mom to a monster. Michelle ran a tight ship to make sure the channel kept making money. She knew her kids were the reason for the channel's success, so she pulled them out of school to film more videos. Like other YouTubers, Michelle started using scripts and rehearsals to perfect her content. Her kids had to memorize their lines and perform them just right. But like most kids, sometimes they didn't feel like doing it. When that happened, Michelle wasn't just strict, she was cruel. Instead of giving them breaks or encouraging them, Michelle took a much harsher approach. If her kids refused to film or messed up a line, she would punish them. This included skipping meals, ice baths, or even using pepper spray. She also didn't give them enough attention.
She didn't wash them, she didn't keep them in clean clothing, and for the little ones, she didn't change their diapers frequently.
They kept posting videos and the money kept pouring in. Michelle was on top of the world, but it wasn't long before the truth behind Fantastic Adventures was revealed. In 2017, Michelle's neighbors noticed one of her kids running around the neighborhood in a weird way. They thought something wasn't right, so they called the Arizona Department of Child Safety. When the child welfare officers showed up, Michelle managed to talk her way out of it. This was the first time Child Services was alerted. Over the years, Child Services investigated Michelle 9 times, but they never found any real proof of wrongdoing. But in 2019, Michelle finally faced the consequences of her actions. In addition to her 7 adopted kids, Michelle had other adult children, including a biological daughter named Megan. Megan saw how badly her mom treated the others. So in March 2019, Megan called the local police to report her mother. When the officers stopped by the house for a welfare check, they immediately realized that Michelle was unfit to be a mother. The kids were in terrible shape. Michelle was arrested and charged with 30 felony counts of mistreatment.
A woman who adopted 7 children and used them to make social media videos is now under arrest.
On March 19th, 2019, Michelle's mugshot was all over the news. Subscribers of Fantastic Adventures were shocked to find out the happy family they'd been watching was all an act. Once Michelle was arrested, YouTube immediately terminated the Fantastic Adventures channel. Michelle passed away in November 2019, just months after she was arrested. It's unclear where Michelle's kids are now, but one thing's for sure, they're no longer in the house of horrors. These stories show us how people will do anything to achieve fame. They get lost chasing their dreams, but in reality, true success comes from the connections we build, not the attention we seek. Visual Venture. Make sure you guys click here to watch part 1 of this disturbing band channel's video, which I created like a year ago. And make sure you subscribe because it would mean a ton. Love you guys. Peace.
Questions Jeff, and his reply was, "How dare you question your God?"
They had to change their name to a male name. They had to get their hair cut. They had to basically transition into being a man, even though they were a heterosexual woman.
They would say, like, cut off your family because you need to work on yourself.
You have to die to your family in order to save them.
I am God!
When people are feeling alone, they seek the comfort of a community. And some people get so desperate for connection that they'll do anything to get it, even if it means trapping themselves inside a place that they can't escape, a cult. We'll talk about some of the wildest cults on the internet, starting from the tamest to the most disturbing ones. My name is Visual Venture. Hope you guys have a beautiful day ahead. Twin Flames Universe. Everyone around the world wants to find their one true love, which is why when a cult emerged promising that they could find a soulmate, it quickly became one of the fastest growing cults in the world. Established in the early 2010s, the Twin Flames universe had one major promise to its followers. They would help them find their soulmate, no matter what it took. The idea is that twin flames are two people believed to share the same soul, split into two bodies, creating a deep and intense connection. The relationship helps them grow and achieve a higher purpose together.
Here's a fun statistic for you. Generally, for the vast super majority of people on the planet, if you just listen to our information and you genuinely do it, and you don't know your twin flame, it should take you a week to get into harmonious union. A really chill week.
These are the founders, Jeff Divine and Shalia Divine, a married couple and so-called twin flames. The two met each other online back in 2012 and started dating shortly after. They were both very deep and shared views on intimacy, romance, and of course, twin flames. They both believed that everyone has a true love, which was decided for them by the universe. In 2014, the couple started making YouTube videos together talking about their views on twin flames, and soon built a subscriber base of like-minded individuals who agreed with everything they believed in. With a rapid growth, Jeff and Shalia transitioned from making videos to building an actual community. So in 2007, they founded Twin Flames Universe and offered online classes to their fans called the Twin Flame Ascension Course. These were all paid classes helping anyone who would join to find their soulmate, aka their twin flame. As of 2024, the course starts at $3,333, which includes over 100 classes that are all 90 minutes long. Or if you wanted the everything package, you would only need to drop $8,888 for a more personalized experience. For some, the money seemed worth it to find their soulmate, but the true price was about to be revealed. In the Twin Flames universe, the main belief is simple. Each person only has one true soulmate, and regardless of what stands in the way, that person will never change, even if that person was in a relationship, married, or of a different sexuality. The main issue with this group is that they would do anything to be with their twin flame, and the only people making that decision is none other than the cult leaders, so questioning them was not an option.
I questioned Jeff, and his reply was, "How dare you question your God?"
But the reality was the twin flames weren't restricted to members only. Some cult members got assigned soulmates to people outside of the group who knew nothing about the Twin Flames universe. Many of them had their own relationships, families, and life goals. This belief is dangerous because Twin Flames members have done harmful things in their search for true love, all while under the guidance of Jeff and Shalia Divine. On November 2nd, 2016, a Reddit user posted a thread on the r/relationships forum. The title was, "My friend 23F is being stalked by someone who is part of the cyber cult Twin Flames Theory 36M, and he started posting worrying YouTube videos." In the post, he talks about how his friend, a 23-year-old woman, was the target of an obsessive love by a Twin Flames member. She was unnamed in the post, but for the sake of clarity, let's call her Leah. The two of them met when she was 14 years younger than him. He was 30 at the time, but despite the age gap, they met up a few times casually, making it apparent that he wanted much more. Eventually, Leah stopped seeing him altogether, feeling uncomfortable of his intentions. And for the next 6 years, they talked occasionally and took on completely different paths of life. But despite how distant she was, he never stopped obsessing over her. It still got worse. He documented his one-sided love for her on his YouTube channel, where he would post concerning videos. Many of them talked about how he had a God-given right to be with her, despite her clearly not feeling the same. In the Reddit post, it's also said that he would turn up at her house in the middle of the night uninvited. 6 months later, the user posted an update, and it wasn't good news. The update started with the user telling everyone that the police had since been contacted, but no action was taken. The Twin Flames member was arrested for only a short time, but then was released, despite there being a ton of evidence to keep him behind bars. He continued to post creepy videos talking about his love for Leah, but this time he took it up a notch. The uploads got more frequent, and some days he even uploaded 2 videos that were as long as 20 minutes. He even made videos about his arrest, crying to the camera, stating how devastated he was about the situation. However, in the video, he also said that he forgave Leah for what she did and there was nowhere in the world she could hide for long. But things really reached a tipping point when he uploaded a video of himself in his car, clearly mentally unstable, talking about his past life. He claimed that he did very harmful things to people in the past and referred Leah in the video. The video was taken as evidence to the police, and the entire situation had to be settled in court, where a restraining order was eventually issued. Despite how terrifying this was, the Twin Flames universe was far from over. In the world of Twin Flames, stalking isn't seen as creepy, it's seen as the process of getting true love. Not only do the members of the Twin Flames push boundaries, but so do its cult leaders. In 2019, the Twin Flames universe was business as usual. Jeff and Shalia had evolved from pairing cult members with random people to now those only within the group. But that didn't mean problems in matchmaking disappeared. Together, Jeff and Shalia created 20 Twin Flame pairings for members of the cult, some of which were between straight women. Although some of them weren't attracted to the same gender, the leaders still believed that their pairings were accurate. However, this wasn't the issue. It said that in the Twin Flames universe, each pairing must have a divine masculine and a divine feminine member, which wasn't the case for some of these pairings. So instead of finding them new matches, Jeff and Shalia proposed a different solution, forcing one of them to become the divine masculine.
They had to change their name to a male name, they had to get their hair cut, they had to basically transition into being a man, even though they were a heterosexual woman.
While some of the members decided to just leave, others stayed and followed the leader's suggestions. One of those members was Anne. She claimed that Jeff and Shalia pushed her to change her name to Dan, since she was supposed to be the divine masculine flame. And some didn't just change their appearance physically. At least 3 of the members did medically also. Despite all the controversy, the Twin Flames universe remains active today, and there are still people on YouTube that praise their teachings. While some members of this cult made serious sacrifices in order to join the next cult, you must surrender your entire life. Love has won. Born on November 30th, 1975, Amy Carlson was the picture-perfect daughter. Growing up, she was a straight-A student and was a member of her school's choir. Although she was living between 2 broken homes, Amy still seemed to have a bright future. But it all started to change in the early 2000s when Amy started developing a new interest, one in New Age philosophy. Amy started being active in New Age religious forums, and she eventually found a favorite, lightworkers.org. And when she did, her life changed forever. On lightworkers.org, Amy met an online friend, Robert Saltzgaver, or better known by his internet alias Amaranth White Eagle. The two soon grew close and developed a unique relationship. Robert saw her as something that wasn't even human to him. Amy was a divine being, but not just any divine being, she was the creator of the universe. With the help of Robert, Amy started to believe that she was a 19 billion year old spiritual being that had birthed all of the universe's creations. Robert also convinced her that she's been reincarnated 534 times as notable religious and historical figures like Jesus, Cleopatra, and even Marilyn Monroe. From there, things moved quickly. Amy wasted no time in embracing her new so-called identity. She abandoned everything in her life, including her husband, children, and her job as a McDonald's manager. Leaving everything behind, she joined Robert for a new life in Colorado. Together, they founded the Galactic Federation of Light, or what we know today as as Love Has Won.
Our guest today calls herself Mother God. She is a leader of an organization called Love Has Won.
Officially founded sometime in 2006, Love Has Won started out as a way for Robert and Amy to share their new age philosophies with the world. The two posted their first YouTube video about the group and its beliefs in 2009 and quickly went from two lovers to cult leaders. The YouTube videos picked up a decent amount of traction on the platform and became Amy and Robert's main way of recruiting new members. In these videos, Amy took on the role of Mother God and portrayed herself as a divine being that was capable of miracles. Some miracles included curing cancer and other terminal illnesses. This drew a lot of people in. Robert was Father God, at least at first, but over the years, Amy would have several other Father Gods replacing them as issues arose. One of the most prominent ones being Jason Castillo, a convicted felon with a lengthy criminal record. Amy would offer etheric surgery priced at $88 per session. In these sessions, Amy claimed that she was able to remove sickness and negative energy from the body through just one simple phone call.
And we like to say to the YouTubers, we are doing brain surgeries, organ repair.
But in reality, she couldn't heal anyone. In fact, she couldn't even heal herself, but we'll get back to that. As the cult grew in numbers, they also started releasing more content. Amy and other members started to do daily live streams on the platform.
They spend their time bringing in donations via live stream, selling new age merchandise, and attending to Carlson's every need.
It said that Love Has Won was able to cultivate a community of around 100 to 200 members. As Mother God, Amy was supposedly going to be the one to lead 144,000 people to ascension, which will take them from this current world to a mystical fifth dimension. Although many of the cult members were scattered worldwide, connecting through Facebook and Skype, the core group stayed together in one location. They moved between states like Florida, California, Oregon, and Colorado, renting places to use as their cult's base. There were around 12 to 20 Love Has Won members that were at the forefront of everything. They were the stars of the live stream, were Amy's favorites, and were seen as the group's core members. They called Amy their mom and treated her not just like a leader, but also a parental figure. Eventually, Amy, Robert, and the core members settled into a permanent residence in Crestone, Colorado. The house had been purchased by one of the members for $63,000 and became the base of the cult's operations. The members, like Amy herself, threw away their lives to move here and devoted all their time and energy into the cult and its growth. One of these members was an unnamed man who we'll call Ryan for now. Ryan's story really brought to light just how wicked Love Has Won's operations were at their home base. His sister, Amanda Ray, told the Denver Post all about what had happened in a tell-all interview. Ryan was living the American dream. He had a loving wife, 2 kids, and a 6-figure job in Mississippi. He and his family lived in a $500,000 home. But Ryan would soon land himself in a spiral after the stay-at-home crisis. He always had some interesting opinions, particularly when it came to topics like conspiracies. He had just lost his job and was unsure of what the future was going to hold. He was afraid of his next steps and felt more alone than ever. So when he stumbled upon Amy and Love Has Won, who also aligned with his beliefs, he finally felt seen. Ryan signed up for Amy's etheric surgery sessions, where he started falling into the clutches of the cult. Through these sessions, he became a devoted follower of Amy and started to see her as the Mother God that the cult was claiming her to be. He would eventually give her and the cult over $15,000 in donations and payments for sessions. Soon after attending these sessions, Ryan's behavior at home drastically changed. He no longer slept, he started dressing differently and acted like a completely different person. All clear signs that he started his transition into becoming a Love Has Won cult member. Like most cults, Love Has Won had a strict set of rules that each member had to follow. This included limiting the amount of sleep that they had to just 4 to 5 hours a day, having a specific diet, and only wearing the clothes that the cult approved. After all of these changes, Ryan had become unrecognizable to his family and friends. His behavior was so concerning that his wife, Ariane, even sent their kids away for fear that he would negatively influence them. But that wasn't all. In May 2020, Ariane and and Ryan were finishing up a couples therapy session. But instead of following his wife's car to go home, Ryan took his car in the complete opposite direction. His wife followed his car all the way to his destination, which to her shock was the airport. The reason? Ryan wanted to join the rest of the Love Is One members in Colorado. He left his wife with some chilling final words. "Mother God has called me home." Unable to stop him, Ryan's friends and family let him be. They began watching Amy's YouTube live streams in hopes of catching a glimpse of Ryan. And for the first day after his departure, they saw him. But the next day, he wasn't there anymore. His wife and sister began to worry, especially considering that cult members on the stream were saying things about how a new member's energy wasn't right and that he was on the wrong side of the mountain. Speculating that things had gone wrong, his loved ones called the local police in Colorado. The next day, their suspicion would be confirmed. Ryan was found by the authorities wandering in the wilderness alone, borderline delirious. He burned his eyes from staring at the sun too intensely and was covered in leaves and cactus needles. His cult members abandoned him with nowhere to go in Colorado. Before his family could make it to him, Ryan signed the paperwork to get himself discharged from the hospital. He was eventually found underneath a bridge in his hospital gown, claiming that he had ascended after doing what Mother God had told him to do. He's still recovering to this day. Love Is One soon began falling apart after some members came to the realization they were ultimately being brainwashed. Many former members of the group have come out to speak about their experiences, and they all said similar things. Amy was manipulative, hypocritical, and made their lives a living hell.
It's a lot of mental manipulation, a lot of brainwash. She only lets us sleep 4 hours. We have to wake up every day at 5 a.m. We start live stream at 6. Everything is revolved around Amy.
Amy's true colors also became much more apparent. Although the cult had a strict no drinking and no substances policy, Amy didn't follow that herself. In fact, she was an avid drinker, and this soon started to affect not just her behavior, but her health.
Amy, at that point in time, was definitely one of the most brilliant, insightful people I've ever met. But it all changed after dinner. She could drink like I've never seen before.
After all the drinks, Amy would become the complete opposite of what her followers had grown to love about her. She was angry, mean-spirited, and nothing like the Mother God that Love Has One knew.
You are reason for all humanity.
Eventually, all of it would start to take a toll on her. She got extremely ill. As someone who claimed she could heal others with just one phone call, she couldn't do the same for herself. In May 2021, she passed. But that didn't mean that her followers left. Colorado police visited the home days after to find that her body was still in the cult house, wrapped like a mummy, covered in glitter and Christmas lights. Love Is One was unmistakably a cult. However, some cults are much harder to spot, even if they're hiding in plain sight. 7M Films. Founded in 2021, 7M Films is a Los Angeles-based talent management company. Recently, the company has focused on TikTok, signing several big-name influencers into their roster. On their website, which doesn't have much information, 7M Films claims to have increased the collective social media following of their clients from 1.8 million to 10.4 million. But other than that, nothing else is known about the company, which is probably a strategic move on their part, considering the dark story behind its origins. 7M Films isn't just a talent management company. It was tied to a cult, the Shekinah Church. According to their website, Shekinah Church's primary goal is to save 1 billion souls by sharing their faith with the world. But to do this, they aim to aggressively train God's people, which they took too far. The founder and pastor of Shekinah Church is Robert Shin. He's also the creator of 7M Films. It's said that he started 7M Films after his son, a videographer named Isaiah Shin, started doing work in the influencer industry. Through his son's connections and using platforms like TikTok, Robert and his team at Shekinah Church were able to recruit several up-and-coming influencers to join the company, particularly dancers, with one of the most famous being Miranda Derrick. But soon, the true origins of 7M Films came to light after Miranda's family posted an Instagram video in March 2022 begging for help to bring Miranda back from the darkness that was 7M Films.
This is so real. We just want Miranda back. and don't know what to do.
Miranda Derrick, born Miranda Wilking, is an influencer with over 1.6 million followers on Instagram. She blew up on the internet through dance videos on a joint TikTok account with her sister Melanie. They now post separately, with Melanie rebranding their old account, which has 3.7 million followers. Like many up-and-coming influencers, Miranda knew that to continue on her path to stardom, she needed proper representation. So she enlisted the help of 7M Films in 2021 and joined their talent management company. This is where everything started to fall apart. At first, things seemed pretty normal, but over time, Miranda started distancing herself from her family, and eventually she cut them off completely. She became heavily involved in the church, similar to other 7M dancers. But Miranda's family went over a year without hearing a word from her. Miranda even got married to fellow 7M dancer James Derrick without telling her family. They started to fear that 7M Films was the reason for this. Miranda also didn't come to the funeral of her own grandfather and ended up blocking her sister on social media altogether. Distraught and not sure what to do, Miranda's sister Melanie turned to her thousands of Instagram followers. She and her parents went on Instagram Live to address the situation, asking the public to help bring Miranda back home and sending a message to her sister via the stream. They also issued a warning to the other dancers on TikTok about 7M Films. Clips of this live stream quickly went viral, and the media started digging into the roots of 7M. Melanie had also started working together with Kaylee Paulson, who was an investigative influencer that was searching for the truth behind the company. 7M's ties to Shekinah Church were soon revealed, and they made a statement on March 25th, 2022. There, they said that although Robert Shin was a pastor at Shekinah Church, there were no affiliations between the company and the church, which was not true. Following this news, former Shekinah Church member Lydia Chung also took this as an opportunity to tell her story. In 2009, Lydia had attempted to sue the church and Robert for fraud, but was unsuccessful. She claimed that she's been swindled out of nearly $4 million, both in property and personal funds during her time at the church, which was from 1996 until 2008. She also confirmed the allegations that 7M Films and the church were connected, and also openly called the organization a cult. Lydia also gave further insight on how 7M Films works behind the scenes. She claimed that the company used popular influencers like Miranda as a way to infiltrate the entertainment industry. She also claimed that Robert tried to enter the American entertainment market years ago with little success, and that 7M Films' sole goal was to help Robert achieve his dreams of mass influence in the industry. Other Shekinah Church members also came forward echoing Lydia's claims. They said that Robert Shin had brainwashed them and used isolation and intimidation tactics to keep them under his control. Allegedly, the same thing happened at 7M Films. The company required all of its signed talent to completely cut ties with their family, which would explain why Miranda, someone who was so close to her family, just suddenly stopped speaking to them. Other investigative Instagram accounts soon popped up, like @exposing7M. They were able to find evidence from other 7M dancers that also seemed to confirm the allegations. After all this controversy, Miranda actually made a statement denying all the claims that she was involved in a cult. She also claimed that she was going to meet up with her family, yet soon after, she left town completely and didn't meet up with them. But the statement wasn't going to be enough to close the floodgates that were now being opened. More Shekinah Church members opened up to news outlets. Business Insider got an exclusive interview with 10 former members who told them that they were brainwashed while in the cult. Allegedly, Robert maintained complete control over members' lives. He had access to some of their personal bank accounts. For one married couple in the cult, Robert was only giving them $15 a week as allowance using their own money. The members also recalled being unable to celebrate any family birthdays or events, as they had to sever all family ties to better serve God. Some were even forced to get new names as a symbol of abandoning their past lives. And Robert was able to convince Shekinah and 7M members to do this by guilt-tripping them. He claimed that if they didn't cut off familial contact, then their loved ones wouldn't be able to join them in heaven.
They would would say, like, cut off your family because you need to work on yourself.
You have to die to your family in order to save them.
Some were also pushed to live in group homes with other cult members and give away all their possessions to more senior members of the church. 20% of their salaries went back to Shekinah, an additional 10% was given to Robert himself. And when members started their new job, the entire first paycheck had to be given to Robert so that he could bless it and make them more fruitful. An unnamed mother of a 7M dancer also told Insider that when her son joined the company, he started talking to her differently before dropping contact altogether. By the way he was typing, she seemed to believe that someone else was writing the messages for him. 7M Films and Shekinah Church have all denied these allegations. Even with Netflix's new documentary bringing the issue into the spotlight, Miranda still denies cult allegations. She remains with 7M Films and talks to her family occasionally, but only if they don't ask her about her involvement with 7M or the church. This next cult is absurd. It's led by a convicted criminal, and I don't understand how people fall for it. University of Cosmic Intelligence.
I opened this YouTube channel for this University of Cosmic Intelligence. Starting today, this is only for the fifth dimensional beings, those beings who are still stuck on the third dimension. This channel might not be for you.
This is Rashad Jamal, an author and rapper from Atlanta, Georgia. But most notably, he's a self-proclaimed prophet and the leader of the infamous cult, the University of Cosmic Intelligence. Rashad posted his first video called Divine Insight Introduction Video on his YouTube channel on September 1st, 2020. Since then, the channel gained over 200,000 subscribers with thousands more followers on other platforms. To join the University of Cosmic Intelligence, all people have to do is purchase one of the 3 packages outlined on the group's website. The gold package is the cheapest option, priced at $33.69 per month. The violet package is the priciest at $333.33. These packages give followers access to Rashad's daily live lectures where he talks about the group's beliefs and stances on the modern world. These are some beliefs that the University of Cosmic Intelligence has. Certain NBA players are robots, government officials are reptilian shapeshifters, and that the weather is controlled by the government to control alternate dimensions.
There she go right there, Mariana Williamson, okay? A lot of these politicians, and she is a reptilian shapeshifter, okay?
But undoubtedly, the most well-known belief that the group has is on certain ethnicities. The group, unlike some of the others we've talked about, has a very specific demographic: Black and Latino people. That's because the leader Rashad claims that those ethnicities are what he calls carbonated beings, which are spiritually enlightened beings that have been handpicked by God. In short, they were gods and goddesses.
You know who that is? That's us, your ancestors. This is how Black and Latinos originally looked. Our pigmentations were either a blue like this, which they showed you in Avatar. You see the Kundalini energy, third eye pineal gland. Very powerful energy.
Although Rashad built a community of loyal followers, many of them didn't know his dark secrets. In 2023, Rashad Jamal was convicted on charges related to his ex-girlfriend's son. Charges so bad that we can't talk about it on YouTube. According to court documents, a Georgia judge gave him a sentence of 18 years in prison with an additional 22 years on probation. But while this arrest opened the eyes for some cult members, some others felt even more compelled to support their leader. A petition was created titled Justice for Rashad Jamal with 1,261 signatures out of their 15,000 goal. Although Rashad's charges were disturbing, many of his followers supported his release. His social media comments were flooded with support from University of Cosmic Intelligence followers who still practice what he preaches even while he's behind bars, and some much more than others. In August of 2023, the public was shocked when this news headline went viral. 6 people across the United States, including 2 3-year-olds, had gone missing. The common denominator, they were all tied to Rashad Jamal and the University of Cosmic Intelligence. Among the 6 are 25-year-old Michaela Wickerson and her 3-year-old daughter Malaya from St. Louis, Missouri. They had been distancing from their family prior to their disappearance. According to information supplied by Michaela's mother, Michaela had been showing signs of concerning behavior for months leading up to this. At the time, her mother didn't think think too much about it, assuming that it was just a temporary spiritual journey that her daughter was embarking on. Michaela and her daughter had been family people for a long time, but out of the blue, Michaela stopped coming around and pushed her family members away. Michaela lived on her own and was always an independent person, so it wasn't a cause for concern, but this time they were wrong. In late 2022, Michaela stopped contacting her family almost completely. Her and her daughter lived a 30-minute drive away from the rest of the family in a house in Berkeley, Missouri. During this period of no contact, Michaela became a devoted member of the University of Cosmic Intelligence. For months, Michaela and her daughter remained in their own little bubble, with Michaela spending most of her time talking to the other cult members online. But what really marked the start of Michaela's downfall was when she quit her job in March 2023. After this happened, Michaela's boss called her mother to inform her about the news, which triggered a confrontation with her daughter. Michaela brushed off all the questions, claiming that she was going to start her own business. But her mother wasn't convinced, so she stopped by Michaela's house unannounced to check up on her. There, she saw a bunch of people she didn't recognize. Michaela's neighbors noted that these people had been at her house for a while now, and they were often seen meditating outside in the backyard in broad daylight. It's speculated that these are other members of the University of Cosmic Intelligence and also the other missing people in the case. And in August 2023, just 4 months after she quit her job, Michaela and her daughter disappeared, along with 4 other members of the cult. It's said that they were last spotted at a Quality Inn near St. Louis, but neither Michaela, her daughter, or any of the other missing people have made contact with any family members since then. The missing persons cases aren't the only tragedies linked to this cult. Rashad has been connected to many other crimes.
Nearly $800,000. That's the bond set for the man accused of his mother with a samurai sword.
In January of 2022, Damien Winslow Washam, who was only 24 years old at the time, did something he could never take back. He was charged with ending his mother and hurting his uncle and brother in the process. Damien, up until this point, had no real prior criminal history aside from a misdemeanor of having marijuana, and he'd shown no signs of mental illness. The only red flag? The stuff that he'd been doing on the internet.
But Washam says he noticed subtle changes over the past 4 to 6 weeks. He says his son sold his beloved PlayStation games and started watching strange videos.
Damien found Rashad's videos about the University of Cosmic Intelligence and became obsessed with him. He couldn't stop talking about it and even sent links to his sisters to try and convert them too. Damien grew obsessed with Rashad and his teachings, believing everything he said, spending hours staring at the sun and absorbing its energy. He bought thousands of dollars worth of crystals from Rashad's online store. In court, Damien was found not guilty by reason of insanity after several mental health evaluations. However, this verdict couldn't bring his mother back. Just 8 months after this incident happened, members of the University of Cosmic Intelligence took another life. In September of 2022, 2 women who were Rashad Jamal's cult followers lured an unsuspecting young couple to an isolated Alabama road. There, they did the unthinkable.
My name is Michaela, and if you're watching this, you're about to watch the story time of the time me and my boyfriend, Adam Simji, were robbed, and then how I had to watch my boyfriend be in front of me.
Michaela Paulus and her boyfriend Adam Simji were on a road trip when they were approached by a cult member named Yasmin Ryder, who at that point was pretending to be a woman stranded on the road. She asked them for jumper cables as her car had broken down. They didn't have any, but decided to try and help anyway. Although a bit suspicious, both Adam and Michaela followed her to a back road where her car was supposed to be. Adam brought something along with them to protect themselves in case anything went south, and it did.
And I say to her, like, is there anything that I can do for you? Can I, like, go tell a park ranger? Can I get you water? Like, can I call somebody? Like, is there anything else that I can do for you? And she, no joke, goes, yeah, there is something you can do for me. You can put your hands up.
The situation quickly escalated. Adam tried to protect himself and Michaela during a standoff but was injured. Yasmin, along with Crystal Pinkins, who was watching from the woods, immediately fled after everything went down. An investigation by police was able to find out that both Yasmin and Crystal were members of the University of Cosmic Intelligence, and that they were both living off the grid, secluded in the woods with another group of supposed fellow cult members. At this point, point in time, Rashad remains behind bars, but his followers still preach his every word and keep the cult alive while he's serving time. Exploring internet cults shows us that we have a strong need for belonging, but that need can be taken advantage of, especially online where your interactions with other people are unseen. The internet is vast, so my friends, navigate it wisely. Visual Venture. Wait, before you go, make sure you guys click subscribe here and then click this playlist to watch more dark internet documentaries, because our goal is 700,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. Thank you guys for everything. Peace.
Reddit, you are disgusting. The CEO, the officers, everybody who's in this company is 100% liable for everything that's happening.
The explicit stated purpose of the subreddit is to damage a person's reputation, to collectively attack them.
Just beneath the surface of Reddit, you can find some really horrible stuff.
Reddit was built on free speech, but some people turn that freedom into something dark. Today we'll explore the most disturbing communities on Reddit. We'll start with the weird ones and work our way to those that are absolutely disgusting. So as you guys can probably hear, I am sick right now, but I'm still making these videos for you guys. I am really trying my best to not miss a weekly upload, but we are getting pretty close. So it would mean the world if you subscribe, and I promise to do my best to be as consistent as I possibly can. I'm Visual Venture and you are awesome. Anti-work. In 2013, a strange community appeared on Reddit. It was called Anti-Work, but Anti-Work wasn't your average discussion board. It was a place for people who hated the idea of having a job. They thought it was wrong that people needed to work just to afford basic needs. Anti-Work's tagline made their message clear: unemployment for all, not just the rich. They invited anyone who wanted to end work or enjoy a work-free life to join. It was an active group. Members shared stories about bad bosses, burnout, and how work ruined their lives. One post read, "Why do we have to work on a planet none of us asked to live on?" Another said, "I don't need a job and I feel great. There's nothing good that having a job would do for me." They even recommended books that supported their beliefs. Their favorite titles were The Abolition of Work and In Praise of Idleness. For years, Anti-Work was a strange, small community. It had a few thousand users. Then the pandemic hit, and suddenly Anti-Work didn't sound so crazy anymore. The pandemic sent the world into lockdown. Millions lost their jobs. Others were stuck in miserable jobs for low pay. For the first time, people everywhere began to question what work actually meant. And when they searched online for answers, they found Anti-Work. Within a year, the subreddit grew to 1.7 million members. But the new members weren't like the originals. They had different views on what it meant to be anti-work. The early members believed work itself was wrong. The newcomers just wanted better working conditions, like fair pay, reasonable hours, and basic respect from bosses. Now, two ideas were sharing the same space, and it created a lot of arguments.
There was a lot of infighting amongst these groups, but even worse than that, the fringe minorities of these started to become representative.
That tension was building, and it was about to explode in front of millions. In late 2021, Fox News heard about the Anti-Work subreddit. They wanted someone from the group to appear on national television to explain what it was all about. Almost all the moderators voted to decline the offer, but one person insisted on doing the interview anyway. Her name was Doreen Ford. Doreen was Anti-Work's lead moderator. She was also one of Anti-Work's original members. She helped build the community from the ground up, and despite everyone's warnings, she insisted on doing the interview. In January 2022, Doreen appeared on Fox News. She was representing over 1 million Anti-Work members, and things went wrong almost immediately. Doreen looked uneasy. She kept glancing away from the camera. Then the host asked a straightforward question.
Doreen, why do you like the idea of being home, not working, but still getting paid?
Doreen tried to explain her philosophy, but halfway through, she said something that ignited a firestorm.
So I think laziness is a virtue in a society where people constantly want you to be productive 24/7.
Laziness is a virtue. That statement was very controversial. The host didn't argue. He just smiled and moved on. He asked Doreen what she wanted to do with her life. She answered,
I would love to teach. work with people and stuff like that.
What would you teach, Doreen?
Philosophy, mostly.
Not long after, the segment ended, and within hours, the anti-work subreddit descended into chaos. So remember those two groups inside anti-work? One side wanted to abolish jobs completely. The other side just wanted fair pay and better treatment. Well, both sides were mad at Doreen, but for very different reasons. New members were mad because Doreen called laziness a virtue on national television. They didn't want to be portrayed as lazy freeloaders. They just wanted better working conditions. One member wrote, "That interview was so embarrassing. It made me go back to work." Another said his mother asked if he was part of the lazy movement that was on the news the other day. The original members were angry for another reason. In the interview, Doreen mentioned that she wanted to be a teacher. Well, teaching is obviously a job, and working a job went against everything they believed in. Soon, both sides agreed on one thing. Doreen ruined the reputation. The anger spread fast. It started with a few harsh comments, then it escalated. Members demanded that Doreen step down as moderator. The other moderators thought that was extreme. Doreen messed up, but they still supported her. Other members refused to stop criticizing her. So the moderators banned some users who spoke out against Doreen. But even the bans didn't stop the backlash. So the moderators made a drastic decision. They locked the anti-work subreddit. No one could post or comment, but silence didn't stop the chaos. It just pushed it somewhere darker. Angry members went after Doreen personally. They dug into her past. Before long, someone found old social media posts where Doreen admitted to inappropriate behavior and harassment. To humiliate her, they shared those screenshots all over Reddit. A few days later, the moderators reopened anti-work. They released a statement addressing the accusations against Doreen. It said, "We don't know enough to feel comfortable about making a statement. The individual in question has been removed from the moderation team." Doreen was gone, but removing her didn't bring peace. Thousands of members were disgusted by how everything played out. They quit the group entirely. Those who stayed stopped posting. The community that once had millions of active members was now a ghost town. Today, anti-work still exists, but it's a shadow of what it once was. Now, I don't agree with anything that Doreen did, but here's what's scary. How fast people found her private information. They pulled up old posts, accounts, and personal details just like that. That's because data brokers make it incredibly easy. A few years ago, someone did the same to me. They found my personal information and threatened me with it. I tried removing my information from every website I could, but there was just too many. These sketchy websites are selling your data to anyone willing to pay. And it's completely legal, which is insane to me. But if you ask them to remove your data, they're also required by law to take it down. That's where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. Aura automatically searches data broker sites to locate where your information is being sold, then handles all the removal requests for you. Within a few weeks, you'll notice less spam calls, less junk mail, and your name becomes significantly harder to find online. But Aura goes beyond just data broker removal. It scans the dark web and alerts you if your information shows up there. If someone tries opening a bank account or taking out credit in your name, you'll get notified right away. And if the worst happens, Aura protects you with up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. On top of that, you get access to a VPN, antivirus protection, and a password manager, which are all needed to stay safe online. If you guys want to try Aura, click the link in the description or go to aura.com/VV to try 14 days for free. That's enough time for Aura to find out if your personal data is already out there. Trust me guys, it is worth your peace of mind. Fat people hate. I'm going to be referring to this group as FPH. FPH was a subreddit with one purpose: to mock overweight people. That was the entire point. One of the rules even said absolutely no fat sympathy. Members didn't wait for content to find them. They went hunting for it. Here's how it worked.
The members would scour social media in particular, looking for images of overweight people doing things in compromising situations or looking funny that they would all then post and sort of get together and mock.
They dug through fitness posts, sewing threads, and mental health spaces. No corner of Reddit was off limits. Once they found a photo, they took it without permission and posted it to FPH. Then they wrote negative captions about the overweight stranger in the photo. Every post was a contest to see who could write the meanest comment. The more vicious the insult, the more upvotes it got. Eventually, FPH grew to 150,000 members. It became a feeding frenzy of insults. But that raised a serious question. Why did Reddit ever allow something like this to exist? Reddit had a philosophy: free speech above almost everything else. The company believed users should decide what to see, not administrators. That policy made Reddit hesitant to ban questionable subreddits. But FPH wasn't just exercising free speech. They were going out of their way to humiliate people. Ironically, FPH members were happy to mock others, but they couldn't handle any criticism. For instance, one day some of their mean-spirited posts were reposted to a site called Imgur. Unlike Reddit, Imgur had strict rules. So when Imgur employees saw the inappropriate photos, they deleted them immediately. FPH took that as an attack. They claimed Imgur was censoring them and they decided to fight back. Members dug up photos of Imgur employees and posted them on FPH. Then, as a group, they mocked the staff's bodies and looks. This wasn't trolling anymore, it was targeted harassment, and Reddit could no longer ignore it. On June 10th, 2015, Reddit banned 5 subreddits. FPH was at the top of the list.
Reddit has banned a bunch of their subreddit communities, including r/fatpeoplehate.
For Reddit, the ban was long overdue, but for FPH members, it was a betrayal of Reddit's free speech roots. To protest the ban, FPH members created dozens of copycat subreddits. Each sounded very similar to FPH. Reddit banned them as fast as they appeared. But the angry users weren't done yet. They focused their rage on a single target, Ellen Pao, Reddit's CEO. They plastered her photos across the site with inappropriate captions. A petition demanding her resignation gained over 200,000 signatures. But Reddit refused to reverse the ban, so FPH members packed up and left the site entirely. They migrated to a platform called Vote. It was a Reddit clone with almost no rules. Within days, Vote's version of FPH reached 38,000 subscribers. Their negative content had a new home. But on Reddit, FPH was gone for good. This next community turned dating into something toxic. Female dating strategy. Female dating strategy was supposed to be a space for women who wanted better relationships. But inside, the advice wasn't about love or kindness. It was about control. We'll call the female dating strategy subreddit FDS. Members of FDS were expected to accept certain beliefs. The first was about how to categorize men. According to FDS, every man fit into one of 4 groups: high value, low value, negative value, zero value. A high value man was the type who loves to show his woman that he can provide. He pays for dates and covers most expenses in the relationship. A low value man was the opposite, someone with little to offer. A negative value man subtracts value from your life. A zero value man adds absolutely no value to your life. If a man didn't meet their standards, members had a nickname for him: Scrote. It was their insult for any man they considered beneath them. Another FDS rule encouraged women to date multiple men at once. They called this a scrotation. Scrotation meant a rotation of suitors you were currently dating but not in an exclusive relationship with. They did that to assess each man to see who could offer the most. And in FDS, money was the most important measure of value. The rules made it clear. Generous men are a non-negotiable. That meant not splitting the bill and not dating financially challenged men. But FDS didn't just tell women how to treat men. It also had a weird system of rewarding and punishing members. If a woman disagreed with the group's crazy ideas, she was branded a pygmesia. Originally, that word meant a woman who degrades herself for the fleeting attention of men, but it became an insult for any woman who didn't submit to their beliefs. The subreddit even had its own ranking system. At the top were ruthless strategists, followed by strategy coaches, and then disciples at the bottom. The higher you rank, the more power you had to enforce the rules. And breaking those rules even slightly meant an instant ban. One member was banned for saying a relationship is a two-way thing. That one sentence got her kicked out. Another woman claimed she was banned for dating a man with a disability. To moderators, that man was low value because they didn't think he could provide money for the relationship. There were no warnings, no second chances, just bans. As word spread, FDS developed a dark reputation. Journalists started reaching out to members for interviews. The moderators warned everyone to stay silent. No one was allowed to talk to the press. And things went from bad to disturbing. One FDS member noticed a shocking comment in the group. The comment suggested that women should end their sons, knowing what they will grow to be. The screenshot went public, and people began calling FDS out. Someone described it as a toxic, hateful sub filled with bad advice. Another labeled it a cult. At that point, FDS had over 250,000 members. That kind of reach made outsiders nervous. They worried the group's insane ideas might spread beyond Reddit. By 2021, petitions began circulating circulating, demanding that Reddit shut FDS down. One called Female Dating Strategy, an extremely terrible place that deserves to be deleted. Blogs cover the story. They exposed FDS's cult-like rules and beliefs. Public pressure kept building, but before Reddit could act, FDS made its own move. In April 2022, the moderators announced that they were leaving Reddit to launch their own website. The official reason was that Reddit admins don't respond to serious reports of harassment of female users. Today, the Female Dating Strategy subreddit still exists, but it's mostly abandoned. The few remaining posts are just links to their new site. Now, we're taking things a little further with this next subreddit. Ephilism. Ephilism was a subreddit with about 9,000 members. They all shared one disturbing desire. They wanted all life on Earth to end permanently. The group's name was a reflection of this belief. Ephilism is actually the word life spelled backwards. Members believed the world would be better if nothing existed. No people, no animals, no pain. Inside the subreddit, they spent hours debating how to stop people from bringing more life into the world. Most of them only talked, but one member decided to act. His name was Guy Bartkus. Guy was 25, and he was deeply involved in the Ephilist community. He believed parents were selfish for having kids. To him, fertility clinics were a big part of that evil because they helped people start families. In one of his posts, he wrote, "I'm very against IVF. It's extremely wrong. These are people who are having kids after they've sat there and thought about it." To outsiders, those words sounded unhinged, but inside Ephilism, they were normal. One day, Guy decided to show how much he despised fertility clinics. On May 17th, 2025, Guy drove to a fertility clinic in Palm Springs. Then he set up a camera on a tripod. He planned to live stream what was about to happen. Within minutes, there was chaos.
We heard this loud noise. I shook all over building. It was a big bang.
Guy didn't survive. 4 others were injured. When police arrived, they found Guy's camera still recording. It didn't take long to figure out what happened. The FBI took over the case. When they searched Guy's home, they found a website he created. On it was a 30-minute recording explaining his motive. Guy said, basically, it just comes down to, I'm angry that I exist and that nobody got my consent to bring me here. The FBI kept digging, trying to determine if Guy acted alone. Eventually, they discovered he hadn't. There was an accomplice on the loose. The accomplice was Daniel Park. For years, Park secretly helped Guy gather materials to carry out his plan.
Mr. Park, who shares Barkus's extremist beliefs, is accused of shipping approximately 180 pounds of ammonium nitrate.
After the fertility clinic incident, Park fled the US and escaped to Poland, but he didn't get far. 2 weeks later, authorities arrested him at an airport. He was extradited to the US and jailed. By then, the case was front page news. Reporters connected the Ephilism subreddit to the Palm Springs tragedy. Media outlets slammed Reddit for allowing such a dangerous community to exist. Eventually, Reddit gave in and banned the subreddit, but the Ephilism members didn't go quietly. They argued the ban was unfair because Ephilism wasn't violent, but Reddit refused to reverse the ban, so they created a new subreddit called Ephilism 2. Its description said it was just an alternative to the ban page. This next community made life unbearable for famous people. Snark communities. The word snark was just another word for sarcasm, but Reddit users gave it a darker meaning. Around 2015, a new type of subreddit appeared. They were called snark pages. They had names like Ariana Grande Snark, Colleen Ballinger Snark, and LA Influencers Snark. Each one had the same purpose, to troll influencers. They were entire communities created to gossip about a single person.
Listen, snark subreddits, they're a place where people go and they gossip and they say bad things about people they don't like.
But sometimes members went beyond gossip. They mocked influencers directly on social media. By 2020, there were dozens of snark pages, each one devoted to tearing down one creator. Whenever an influencer got caught up in a scandal, their snark page would light up with activity. Members would gossip, spread rumors, and send horrible messages. But when there was no drama, things got quiet. Too quiet. That's when one group decided to do something different. Instead of waiting for a scandal, they would create one. That's what happened to a YouTuber named Adam McIntyre. Adam was a YouTuber from Ireland. He usually made commentary videos about other YouTubers and internet culture. In 2025, he was approved for a US visa. He was coming to America to film live shows for his podcast. It was kind of like a tour where he could meet fans and perform in person. Getting that visa wasn't easy. For international creators, the process can take months or even years. So when Adam finally got it, he celebrated the moment by posting a picture online. But not everyone was happy for him. Someone already already created a Snark subreddit dedicated to mocking Adam. Members of the Adam McIntyre Snark saw his tweet about getting a US visa. They immediately zoomed in on the image. They examined every pixel, every word, every mark. Then one user noticed something. There was a tiny R printed on the document. Members started speculating. What did the R stand for? After some sloppy research, they decided it must mean R1 visa. R1 is a type of visa given only to priests and religious workers. But Adam wasn't a priest. He was a YouTuber. The group decided that Adam somehow got his visa fraudulently. Maybe he lied to the US government in order to enter the country. The accusation spread fast across social media. One comment said, "Adam, tell us, what religious activities did you do?" It became a full-blown scandal. Except it was all false. The R on his document stood for regular passport, not a religious visa. There was nothing illegal about it. But members of the Snark subreddit made things worse. They reported Adam to ICE, the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. Adam eventually found out that he was reported, and he was furious.
This was no longer snarking. This was putting me in government records incorrectly because you don't know how to read a visa.
Those false reports could have gotten him detained or even deported. Luckily, Adam didn't get into real trouble, but he wasn't the only one who experienced this type of Snark harassment. Trisha Paytas was a YouTuber with over 5 million followers. Her fame made her an easy target. Someone created a Snark subreddit called Trishyland. It was filled with people devoted to making Trisha's life miserable. Inside, members mocked her non-stop. They made fun of her body and criticized her choices. They even threatened to call child protection services on her, not because Trisha did anything wrong. They just felt she was unfit to be a mom. The group even leaked Trisha's bedroom photos to humiliate her. It was too much. Trisha broke down on camera.
It's really scary, it's frightening. It's not right.
Trisha first reported the harassment to Reddit, but for months the platform didn't take action. Then in August 2022, a blog wrote about the attacks against Trisha. They called it a coordinated harassment campaign. The article went viral. It put a huge spotlight on Reddit's Snark communities. Other blogs started investigating harassment on the platform. Only then did Reddit take action. Trishyland was banned. Around the same time, the Adam McIntyre Snark subreddit was also banned. Although Reddit removed those pages, the Snark culture didn't end. Snark subreddits still exist today, making life unbearable for some people. This next community leaked people's private lives for fun. The Fappening. This wasn't just another subreddit. It was the largest hub for stolen celebrity photos. It all began with a massive cyber attack in August 2014. Hackers broke into the iCloud accounts of more than 100 celebrities, almost all women. Once they got in, they downloaded hundreds of inappropriate private pictures and videos.
From Jennifer Lawrence to Kate Upton, it is what could be the largest breach of private, racy celebrity photos in history.
At first, the leaked photos were posted to 4chan. Then a Reddit user saw an opportunity. He created a subreddit specifically for people who wanted to view them all in one place. He called it The Fappening. Within hours, 50,000 people joined. Members treated the leaked photos like entertainment. They celebrated the invasion of privacy as if it were a game. For the women involved, it was horrifying, especially when they discovered that a subreddit was created just to view their photos, and these women hated it.
It's a total violation.
The victims put massive pressure on Reddit to act. So Reddit issued warnings. Anyone reposting those images would be permanently banned. Then on September 7, 2014, Reddit shut down the Fappening page. The official reason was copyright violation. The subreddit existed for barely a week, but it was too late. The photos had already been downloaded and saved by thousands. Eventually, the FBI launched an official investigation. Between 2016 and 2018, several hackers were arrested and convicted. Justice was served, but it came too late for the victims, because once something leaks online, it never truly disappears. This next group celebrated stupidity until it went too far. Darwin Awards. Darwin Awards turned a tragedy into entertainment. The subreddit was built around one dark idea, laughing at people who lost their lives doing something incredibly stupid. But that twisted sense of humor didn't start on Reddit. It began decades earlier. Long before Reddit, there were early internet chat rooms. People would gather to share strange news stories, especially about people who lost their lives in reckless ways. The accidents were so absurd that they almost didn't sound real. Then in 1993, someone took those stories and built a website around them. She called it the Darwin Awards after the scientist Charles Darwin. But why Darwin? Darwin's theory of evolution is based on natural selection. It's the idea that only the fittest survive to pass on their genes. Darwin Awards flipped that concept into dark comedy. If someone lost their life because of their own stupidity, the joke was that they were selecting themselves out of the gene pool. Their stupidity couldn't be passed down. The people who passed away won a Darwin Award for their stupidity. It was an insult disguised as a joke. The stories on the website were written with a comedic twist. One Darwin Award winner in 1993 was a lawyer. He tried to prove a skyscraper window was unbreakable. He ran straight into it to show off. The glass held, but the frame didn't. He fell out of the building and didn't survive. Another story involved two men leaning out of a moving bus for fun. Neither made it back in. These weren't made up stories. They were about real people with real families. And yet the internet turned their final moments into comedy. By the 2000s, the Darwin Awards website had millions of visitors. It even inspired a movie. And eventually that dark humor found a home on Reddit. The Darwin Awards subreddit revived the old idea for a new generation. Their description read, "Population control volunteers. The tree of life is self-pruning." Members shared videos and articles about people passing away from avoidable mistakes. But over time, some of them began to feel bad about making fun of people's tragedies. One finally called it out. They wrote, "The concept of Darwin Awards is evil. Imagine you fell to your death. Then people started insulting you while your family was grieving." Another said they used to find it funny when they were younger, but not anymore. They wrote, "Now I see life as precious. These were just people who were unlucky." And they ended with one haunting reminder. Imagine if your close relative got featured there. The Darwin Awards subreddit is still active, and they're still making fun of other people's tragedies. This next community isn't for the faint-hearted. It showed people things they couldn't unsee. Eyebletch. Reddit had a popular page called Eyebleach. It was a community for sharing beautiful, happy, or adorable content. Millions visited it regularly. It was filled with cute animal videos and cheerful content. Then someone created a nearly identical page with one tiny change. They removed a single letter, A. The new subreddit was called Eyebletch, and it was the evil twin of the original. The original Eyebleach showed puppies and kittens, but Eyebletch showed real videos of gore, injury, and disaster. And these were real videos of real people. But why was it called Eyebletch? It was designed to trick people. The people who made Eyebletch admitted that they wanted to trick users trying to find the cute animal page. Their plan worked. Thousands clicked on Eyebletch thinking it was Eyebleach. Instead of puppies, they were greeted with horrifying videos. Sometimes people didn't even realize they were on the wrong page. One person said they kept watching thinking Eyebleach had a super dark side. Someone eventually had to tell them they were on a completely different page. But not everyone got there by accident. Many visited Eyebletch because they wanted to see the disturbing content. They said watching gore videos reminded them how fragile life is. Others claimed gore videos made them more careful in their daily lives. But for countless others, the effects were negative. In 2021, a boy posted on Reddit begging for advice. He wrote, "I went on Eyebletch because I was curious, but now I can't get those things out of my head." The images kept replaying in his mind. Someone replied saying the boy was showing signs of traumatic stress. The boy wanted to tell his parents, but he was scared they'd take his phone away. But he wasn't the only one experiencing these issues. Someone said they threw up after watching a video on Eyebletch. Another said they accidentally found the page months ago and still hadn't recovered. More people came forward with similar stories. They begged Reddit to take action, but Reddit didn't do anything. The page stayed online. By early 2023, people were furious. Their problem was that Eyebletch tricked them into watching inappropriate videos. They created petitions demanding the company ban Eyebletch. Thousands of people signed. Eventually, Reddit had no choice but to respond. In April 2023, Reddit gave the Eyebletch moderators an ultimatum. They had 4 months to clean up the community. That meant removing the worst content. If they didn't, Reddit would ban the page permanently. The moderators barely made an effort. They deleted a few posts, but most of the gore stayed. They didn't think Reddit would actually follow through. They were wrong. In September 2023, Reddit banned Eyebletch for violating the moderator code of conduct. The page that traumatized thousands was finally gone. Today, if you try to visit it, all you see is one sentence. Eyebletch has been banned from Reddit. My friends, spending too much time in toxic places changes you. And the negativity doesn't just disappear when you log off. So be intentional about what you watch and where you spend your energy, because what you consume eventually consumes you. Visual venture. So you guys just watched part 2 of the worst communities on Reddit series. Make sure you guys check out part 1, where we talk about absolutely insane subreddits that encourage shoplifting, deepfakes, and even watching people die. Click right here to watch it. Love you guys. Peace.